Hello everyone, welcome back to another Train Sim World 6 video. Today you join us down at London Euston Station and we are doing a 160-mile run across two routes up to Crewe. We are in the Avanti West Coast Class 390/1 Pendolino and total journey time is going to be around an hour and 46 minutes. We're going to start off on the West Coast Mainline South route from Euston up to Milton Keynes Central in the Evero timetable. Then we are going to be switching to the new All Aboard Studios West Coast Mainline Trent Valley route for the rest of the run up to Crewe. So, this service I believe is 1 Foxtrot 17 London Euston to Liverpool Lime Street, just for reference, and we will be running in the full Evero timetable on West Coast Mainline South and the full timetable on the Trent Valley. So let's hop into it without any further ado. Let's get the safeties on. You, and you. Yeah, we'll probably have a low frame rate around Euston for a bit. Unlock the doors. Headlights. Oh. Activate boost mode, so we have better acceleration. And I believe that's it. Let's just get brighter controls going. So yeah. Yes, I was right. This is the service to Liverpool Lime Street. Alright, so I believe we're on this first section, we are stopping at Milton Keynes Central only on West Coast Mainline South. Ooh. Almost forgot the DRA, Driver's Reminder Appliance. Sorry. Yeah. So we'll be at Milton Keynes Central by 10:40. This is one of my favourite things about the new West Coast Mainline Trent Valley route and what All Aboard Studios are doing. They give you services which you can run across West Coast Mainline South and Trent Valley. Basically, you can do one service on West Coast Mainline South, then go over to Trent Valley and continue that exact same service. And it's in the same time period, and you'll see the same AI across both routes at Milton Keynes, which is also what Just Trains are doing with Blackpool branches, Preston Carlisle, and Preston Crewe. Speaking of which, Preston Carlisle actually got a brand new timetable today in the patch that finally, after many years of begging from me, adds the class 86 and 87 as AI, and will also incorporate Preston to Crewe stuff as well. Oh, no, I don't like the way these objectives work sometimes. We do have a speed set, but it's apparently not realistic for it to be used in the Pendolino, so we won't use it today. Right, now we can go. Full speed to Milton Keynes Central in 44 miles. How's frame rate right now? 25 FPS, that's not bad considering the amount of... Wait a minute. Oh, silly me. I forgot to deactivate the DRA. Now we can go. 35 seconds late. Whoops. Let's see if we can make up the time using boost mode. So yeah, we'll end this service will end at Milton Keynes Central, then we'll transfer over to the Trent Valley line, and yeah, I'll have to set the train up from Colne Dock at Milton Keynes Central again, but after that we'll be good all the way to Crewe. And honestly, yeah, like having the entire West Coast Main Line, bar the short section from Rugby to Birmingham New Street, all the way up to Carlisle, 300 miles of West Coast Main Line across two eras is going to be so much fun. Like, I can imagine doing a full live stream where I just go one direction from Euston to Carlisle or vice versa. Right. Yeah. Alright, so we do have a bit of a downward dip, so we better be careful. Yeah. It's been a bit since I was in the Pendolino, so I need to get used to it again. Alright, shut the power off, be prepared to use the brakes, because it is relatively steep down here. Yeah, Euston definitely tanks the frame rate on this in this timetable, so okay, up to 40. Ooh, we can use this downward section to boost the speed up a bit. This is a trip I've actually done in real life, but in real life I took a Pendolino on one of the Glasgow Central services, so unfortunately I didn't stop at any stations in between Euston and Warrington Bank Quay, unfortunately, so yeah, I've only bypassed these stations on both West Coast Mainline South and Trent Valley, so yeah. The Glasgow Central services are represented in this timetable as AI, but unfortunately we just can't play them because they don't stop anywhere on West Coast Mainline South or anywhere on WCML Trent Valley. So it wouldn't be realistic to include them. Also, the branded 350s are the stroke 1s, because I've got a branding patch for them from the TrainSim community website. However, there is no branding patch for the stroke 4 from Trent Valley, so those will be unbranded, unfortunately. We have quite the journey ahead of us. This is probably the longest continuous end-to-end journey I have ever done in TrainSim world by a considerable margin. Now getting much better frame rate now that we've left Euston out of render distance, because Euston, there's so much stock there that it tanks the frame rate. And I can imagine, especially on Xbox Series S, that would absolutely murder the frame rate. It's hard to believe this route is compatible with Gen 8 consoles, I'll be honest. Yeah, normally I'd be using the speed set around now, but yeah, not today. Honestly, I've been wanting to do a run to let the Pendo really stretch her legs for a bit now. Oh, hello. A bit of weird light baking going on there. Alright. 43 miles to go. And once we get to the Trent Valley line, we should start having simulated neutral sections as well, because that's one of the things the Trent Valley has, which West Coast Mainline South does not. I still think West Coast Mainline South is a decent route, it's just way too short. It should have been at least taken up to Rugby, because that's where the Birmingham New Street services diverge. Like, yeah. But hey, it is what it is. We have that stretch of West Coast Mainline anyway with Trent Valley. There's a 710 just pulling out of that stop there. I'm actually planning on going to London in a few days to do some train spotting. Might see a video on that, who knows. Still need to plan it out. Up to 100. Since the Pendolino is a tilting train, we have the special speed limits that we can adhere to. So yeah, the EPS, Enhanced Permitted Speed, that's the one. So that means tilting trains are allowed to get up to speed a lot faster than their non-tilting counterparts, which will eventually be phased out, because tilting trains are going to eventually be phased out on the WCML, which is incredibly annoying. But it's not as if these Pendolinos are new units. They are absolutely not. They're going on for a quarter of a century old, and they're not getting any newer as time goes on. Alright. Ooh, hello, Bakerloo line. Oh yeah, there's the really bugged LOD on the 72 stock. If you go too far away while looking at the 72 stock, it just looks awful for some reason. There was a fix for that on the TrainSim community website, but it got taken down for some reason. So yeah, we'll be paralleling the Bakerloo line until it ends at Harrow and Wealdstone, and we'll be paralleling the Watford DC line until Watford Junction, which we'll be bypassing. Oh, hello, up to 105. Yeah, we're in the stroke 1 today, Pendo, so that's the longer one. It's the big one. I believe that was the London Overground, North London line, I think, that we just went under. So one thing that you will notice is that the freight yards on this line do not have too many trains. At the moment, there are only Oh, up to 120. What did... I can see the latest patch did not resolve the buggy NPCs on this route. I forgot that was a thing. So yeah, empty yards. There are only 10 freight timetable services at the moment. And they're all FKA intermodal wagon services. There are going to be a few more added with the Freightliner Class 70 in this timetable. But yeah, the Freightliner Class 70 isn't going to be out for a bit. We do have confirmation from all aboard it's coming out before the end of the summer, so yes, hopefully we'll get it before train. Yeah, that probably means we'll get it before trainsim 7, but we'll see. It's obviously going to be a day one purchase because, oh man, that Class 70 looks amazing. The clag, the noise, the modeling, it looks pretty incredible. Like, genuinely. It's like we have a 350 stroke 1. Yeah, that's how you can tell. Normally I can't tell the two apart unless you look at the unit numbers. Here's Wembley Central, up to 125, our top speed for today's run. 40 miles to Milton Keynes Central. Yeah. When it was just West Coast Mainline South from modern WCML routes and also Birmingham Crew, the Pendolino just felt like an absolute caged animal. Like, genuinely. But now that we have Trent Valley, we can finally give the Pendolino a chance to stretch her legs over a long distance run. Oh yeah. That's another reason why West Coast Mainline South is a bit of a weird route. It doesn't include the Pendolino as standard, which is incredibly weird. Like, why wouldn't you include, like, one of the staple bits of modern West Coast Mainline traction with the route? Obviously, it was for a blatant cash grab that this thing was sold separately. But through a lucky chance, I happened to get West Coast Mainline South for free from a giveaway, and then the Pendolino is not bad value for money if you don't have to pay for West Coast Mainline South, so hey, yeah. 36 miles to go. Here we go, Harrow and Wealdstone. If we're very lucky, we might even see a Southern C377 doing the East Croydon to Watford Junction service. If you have the on-track simulation 2019 timetable mod, the 377 actually goes all the way up to Milton Keynes, but in the in the current era, the 377 Southern services only go as far as Watford Junction, and we're directly bypassing Watford Junction today. We're not stopping. There are a few Pendolinos that stop there, just not this one. I think it might be only the Birmingham New Street services that stop there, but don't quote me on that. It's also really weird for this section of the West Coast Main Line having two tracks which are electrified via third rail, and then the other four tracks are electrified via overhead wires. I suppose that's a relic of the Bakerloo line being third rail powered. Okay, we do have an 110 limit through Watford Junction. Yeah. And also, West Coast Mainline South does seem to be running better than usual. One of the fixes on, that was in today's patch was unnecessary information was not loaded during the loading screen, is now not loaded during the loading screen. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but you'll have to go read the patch notes for yourself in order to get the gist of that. So there goes the Watford. No, is it still on? Yeah. Alright, we do have a 110 limit, so I'll start slowing down for that now. I think, yeah, not 2 should be enough. I think these Pendolinos have a combined tractive effort of 8,000 horsepower. Don't ask me what that is in kilonewtons, but just to give you an idea of how powerful these things are, the most powerful electric locomotive ever built, the Deutsche Bahn BR-103, which we do have thanks to the Link Rheinstrecke route, only had 10,000 horsepower. So there goes the Watford DC line off to the left toward Watford High Street. That's the only branch on the West Coast Mainline South route. And then, yeah, we've got Watford Junction coming up. And then we've got the Watford Tunnel, and then 25 miles-ish until Milton Keynes. Alright, so keep it in notch 1. Doing a Pendolino run without speed set is somewhat weird because I've always used the speed set in this thing, but hey, if it's not realistic to use it in real life, then I won't use it. Oh, there's a 377 parked off to the side. Oh my word. Frame rate has dropped down the... Oh my word. The game did not like loading that. That was 20 frames a second just then. This route hasn't been particularly well optimized, to put it mildly, but hey, it is what it is. We have an 115 and 125. 30 miles to Milton Keynes Central. There goes the slow line off to the right toward its own tunnel. EPS up to 150. Into the tunnel. 20, just under 20 minutes to Milton Keynes. Out of the Watford Tunnel. Now we're up to 125. So yeah, also 2 layers which you might notice now are the Class 807 and 350/4. Speaking of which, Evero appears, just say 805, but there we go. The 807 and 350/4 were built into the Evero timetable on this route from the beginning to layer on as soon as Crew Preston released. Not Crew Preston. What am I saying? Trent Valley was released, so yeah, that's quite nice. Yeah. Back up to full speed. Nice to run these pendos at this velocity. Yeah, it's a bit... yeah. The one thing about tilting trains, though, you can go around corners faster, but they do make you seasick. One of my relatives has ridden on a Swedish X2000 unit, and yeah, it made him pretty nauseous. My brother Joel, when we were riding on a Pendolino last year, he got pretty seasick after a bit. It didn't help that Avanti put us in the seats that were nominally beside the window, but were actually beside a pillar with no window. Because for some reason, some allegedly window seats in the Pendolinos just don't have windows at all, which is really weird. And probably the thing I most dislike about these units. Oh boy. So weird that this route cuts off at Milton Keynes Central, because a lot of services just don't stop there. It would have been, as I said before, it would have made a lot more sense if this route went to Rugby, because that's where the Birmingham New Street services diverge from. But no. Oh, hello. Is that a green? That is a green. Okay, that's interesting. We just had a signal for not even a speed reduction. There's a pair of 350/4s and another Pendolino. This route really is busy now. Like, thanks to the Evero timetable and the 805, 807, and 350/4 layers, this route feels properly, like, you know, busy. And considering that they were able to get this route to run on consoles with all the trains, right, mind you, some of the consoles, especially Series S's, still crash pretty badly when approaching Euston especially, and I get a pretty poor frame rate approaching Euston. I'm more than willing to take a busier rail seam for a lower frame rate, but yeah, as long as it doesn't crash, then we're good. 90 miles into Pendolino, but I have done more than that. It's just my Dovetail Live profile got reset when I reset my computer, so hey, it is what it is. Having the ability to do continuous Pendolino services from Euston to Crewe across 160 miles of track is nuts. Like, that's more than enough Pendolino running to suit me forever. But yeah. EPS is still 125. So yeah, EPS means enhanced permitted speed, just saying. Station. Hopefully we won't catch like any 350s in front of us because they can only do 110. And any Everos could only do 110. It's a massive pity that the Pendolinos just won't get replaced. Like, the Pendolinos are the only tilting stock left on the West Coast Main Line unless you count those Lumo Class 222s, which, to be fair, I don't know if they run on the West Coast Main Line. Yeah, like, Lumo just started running Meridians, and they do look pretty nice, I have to say. But, yeah. And I don't know if they run on the West Coast Main Line. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Lumo has isolated a tilting system like Cross Country did for their Super Voyagers. But wait a minute, I don't think Meridians tilt, do they? They might tilt. You'll have to let me know down in the comments. I'm confusing myself at this point. 19 miles to go. Honestly, West Coast Mainline South is running a lot smoother than it usually is. 47 to 48 FPS is not bad. Like, we were getting like 25 at Euston, but I'm not surprised by that due to the sheer amount of stock. 710s, 2 different 350s, 2 Everos, and 2 different Pendolino versions. Not surprised it doesn't run the best. Tring! I can't say like tring, I have to say tring! And make it sound happy and cheery, you know? Because it's that kind of station name. Also, I'm a bit sad that the Evero timetable doesn't have a layer for the Direct Rail Services Class 20, but hey, it's not era appropriate, so I'm not too surprised. Nor does it have a layer for the Alan Thompson Class 90, which actually segues me nicely into the Alan Thompson Class 90 seems to have finally been fixed. Mostly. It still only layers on West Coast Mainline South, but all of the major bugs with the Class 90 seem to have been fixed, from what I can tell. So, yay. Just like, yeah, I'm still mildly worried though. A, how long is it going to take before the Class 90 layers onto Manchester Airport commuter, which they have promised, it's just taking a while. And B, like, how does Dovetail make sure a situation like this doesn't reoccur again? For example, take the BNSF GP60, which High Iron Sim is doing for Cajon Pass and San Bernardino, which is going to be released on the 25th of June. How do we know that that's actually going to, that's going to have is actually going to be in a fit state to release? How do we know that it's not going to be another Alan Thompson Class 90 situation? We just don't. There seems to be no checks that have been introduced to prevent another Class 90 situation from reoccurring again. which I know sounds pretty depressing, but yeah, it is. Coming up on Sheddington, I believe. 46 frames per second. That's not bad. Something that oh yeah, I think the Pendolino actually got patched to improve the how it ran. I think. Sheddington. Oh yeah. Straight through 125. I think Sheddington's honestly one of my favourite stations on this route, besides Euston itself, which is honestly pretty decently modelled, and yeah, that's it. I think Sheddington's probably my second favourite station on the route. But what is that? Oh, looks like we're catching up a 350 on who's also heading north on the slow line, with 12 miles to go. Hang on, I just want to check to see if I'm actually recording. Yes, I am. Okay, good. Okay, we're catching up at 350. This is honestly one of the few routes where you can catch up to and overtake services, which is pretty cool. Looks like it's a stroke 1. Oh yeah. I'm not going to take a thumbnail until we get on the Trent Valley, because that route just by default looks a lot better than the West Coast Mainline South. But hey, that would have been a pretty good thumbnail. I do like the horn on these units, especially for the interior. I just like the horn. Like, if you ignore the fact that the Pendolino was a separately sold add-on when it never ever should have been a separately sold add-on in a million years. Like, this unit is genuinely decently modelled and has a good sound set. Probably one of the best pieces of rolling stock dovetail I've done in recent years. Probably, but I would say, yeah, like the best piece of dovetail games rolling stock that has been done recently is probably the Nederlandse Spoorwegen, here's latent buzzer by the way, Nederlandse Spoorwegen ICMM Kooploper electric multiple units for Zwolle Groningen, which, yeah, I definitely prefer. Look at that tilt. Oh yeah, that never fails to be cool. Also, here's a TSW fun fact trivia fact, I should say. Fun trivia fact. There we go. I get English now. The first tilting train in TSW was not the Pendolino. It was, in fact, the DBBR... What is it? It was not the 642. It wasn't the 628. It was whatever the... Oh, it was the 612. The DBBR 612 from Teron to Rump, Dresden to Chemnitz. Which is, yeah, one of the few German routes which I still don't have. And honestly, I'll probably never have it. Because, yeah, just not a route that interests me that much. And I think the 612 just seems to be a pretty difficult unit to drive, though. Yeah, honestly, probably the most difficult unit to drive in this game is probably the OBB 1020 on the Mittenwaldbahn, and I never fail to wax lyrical about that unit. I think the last time I did a Pendo service going north on this route was actually when I was doing my Cargo Line Nuclear versus Stock timetable race against Liam, and I lost the race because I forgot the nuclear services got routed on the fast line, so my Pendolino got held up while his didn't, so yeah. Yeah, let's say I do like the horn. Yes. I do like the running sounds as well, like the track joint sounds, like, yeah. This Pendolino is a very well done unit. Just wish we had a Virgin Trains era. Oh, hello, Evero. 807, very nice. Wish we had a Virgin Trains era Pendolino in just like the stock white livery for use on Birmingham, on the original Birmingham to Crewe timetable, and also on the Birmingham Cross City, because both of those routes are set in 2019, well before Avanti. Well, that was the year Virgin went bust and transitioned to Avanti. 4 miles to go, coming up on Bletchley. So yeah, these Pendolinos will actually be doing well over 100 if you accelerate out of Milton Keynes Central by the time you reach Bletchley, which is pretty cool. Actually been to Bletchley. Went to the Code Breaking Museum. I didn't realise it was on the WCML at the time, otherwise, yeah, I'd have done a round of some train spot near. Straight through Bletchley at speed. Yeah. The ability to do 125 on this route is pretty nice, because, yeah, in the Everos you're stuck at 110 or 115 most of the time. Okay, let's actually start slowing down. Notch 3. The Pendolino, annoyingly, also doesn't have announcements, which I would love for it to have, but unfortunately it's only a mod that allows the Pendolino to have advertisements. Only the only Avanti announcements which you can have are in the 805 and 807, because yeah, the Pendolino was built at a time before there were announcements, which is very annoying. Alright. Do have TPWS on, so I do want to take my time when approaching this signal. We are 5 minutes early. We have 5 minutes to do 1.5 miles. That'll be easy. Let's do notch 1, just gradually slow down. Don't want to trigger a TPWS overspeed like I had in my last video. Yeah. The new patch that's come out for TSW, honestly, it's mind-blowing how big it is. It's probably the biggest update that's happened in trainsim world history. And considering it's a free update, it's insane. Especially since Blackpool Branches is getting a new timetable, which some developers, Rivet Games, would have made an entirely new timetable for. Alright, easy does it. Let's just gently approach this signal. I do not want to trigger a TPWS overspeed, otherwise we are done for. I'd have to turn off TPWS and reset the whole system from scratch, which obviously I don't want to do. Is that a red signal? Yes, it is. We honestly might have caught up a service ahead of us that's currently in our platform. Let's have a look real quick. Yes! Euston to Chester. Yep, he's currently... we've caught up the Euston to Chester who's in our platform. That's what comes of being early, I suppose. There goes the 350. Alright, let's come to a stop. Set the DRA, put the reverser to neutral. And now we wait for the Euston to Chester service to depart. Which probably should do 10:37. Oh, it says starting in 6 seconds. Neat. And there's also another service. Yeah, that's Pendo heading to Euston. That route hop markers to Trent Valley. That's one of the new additions to this route with this update. Okay. Yeah, he's on... The Euston to Chester's on the move. So yeah, all we have to do is wait. Wait, can you actually isolate the tilt? You can actually isolate the tilt system if you want to. That'd be pretty cool. Run a Pendolino at low speed that's had a tilt failure. That'd be fun. There goes the Manchester to Euston service. Right, we have 2.5 minutes to get into Milton Keynes Central. We just need this signal block in front of us as far as the end of the platform to open up. There we go. Notch 4, full speed. Yeah, I can't believe we were that early that we actually caught up the Chester service. It's pretty incredible. Full speed. so we did. That is a red signal at Milton Keynes Central, even if the Chester service is in the next signal block, because that's just because of the way this route works. There goes another Pendolino. This route is so busy now. I love it. Like, it's not as busy as if I was in like a timetable mod, like the on-track simulation 2019 timetable, but this route is busy enough to make it feel realistic. Like, all the passenger services that need to be here are here. And the only thing that's really missing are the freight services, but that's what the Freightliner Class 70 will add. Hopefully there'll be continuous services. You could, say, take like a intermodal service down the Trent Valley and then transfer over to the West Coast Mainline South and run the service to, as far as, like, say, the Wembley freight sidings. That'd be fun. Get below 15 miles an hour. Gently does it. Alright, 15 miles an hour, so now we can't, we cannot, get a TPWS overspeed. Yeah, we're heading all the way to the end of the platform. There goes the 350 that is in the other platform. NPC stuck over there. No, not anymore. Yeah, I do like the Pendolino, and it's nice that we finally have the opportunity to give it like a full beams run. Alright. Unlock the doors. And yeah. Once we get the score for this run, I'll then get my future editor self to do a cool transition over to the Trent Valley. And lock the doors. Wish the AI would, like, guard would do like a buzzer at you. Oh well. Alright. Platinum medal, nice. So, and no points lost to speeding. Very nice. So yeah, now we'll go over to the Trent to do the Trent Valley section of this service, and I will see you there. Alright viewers, welcome in for part 2 of this service. We are now on All Aboard Studios West Coast Mainline Trent Valley route, and we will be doing the remainder of the service up to Crewe, calling it Milton Keynes Central, where we are right now, Tamworth, Lichfield, Trent Valley, and Crewe. Let's get going. So headlights on, boost mode. Let's get the safeties on because, yeah, for some reason the keyboard shortcuts don't do this that well. And the fuse back here and unisolate the TPWS. Look, it doesn't give you too much time to set up the service, does it? Alright. We're good. I think? Yeah, we are. Oh, forgot to unlock the doors. Great. It doesn't give you too much time for setting up this, does it? Alright, come on, buddy. Okay, we actually have the headlights on, because, yeah, I forgot to do that. And I actually have, this is my second time at recording part 2, because, yeah. What was it? Yeah, I put the, oh. I put the vehicle, I tried to do photo mode during the Northampton loop, and yeah. Unfortunately, my frame rate then tanked from 50 FPS to 35 and stayed that way, so hopefully we can actually have better luck this time with the performance. Yeah. So next stop is Tamworth in 57 miles. And we're straight up to 125 miles an hour. Okay, let's just make sure. Okay, task system is working correctly. We are in boost mode. You're good, you're good. Just making sure everything's working correctly. If you do Shift Enter or Control Enter, it doesn't turn this twist AWS switch on, so even if you do Control Enter, it doesn't turn on the AWS, which is really annoying. You have to do it manually. But anyway. Full speed ahead to Tamworth. It's really weird, this service, because it goes direct to Tamworth. It doesn't stop at Rugby or Nuneaton. Well, actually, I just want to make sure that I'm actually recording. Yes, I am. I have to make sure. Yeah, there we go. And then it stops at Tamworth and then Lichfield Trent Valley. Tamworth and Lichfield Trent Valley are only 6 miles apart, and then it goes direct Crewe. Wonder why that is. There has to be a good reason why Avanti would set up a service like this. But yeah, we're basically straight up to 125 miles an hour, which is quite nice. Yeah. Not all the freight services that are in this timetable will show up because, like on West Coast Mainline South, because the freight line at Class 70 isn't out yet, and that provides something like 40 freight services on this line, according to all aboard, and it's coming before the end of the summer, so it's almost certainly a TSW6 product. That's if we get a TSW7, that is. Full speed. What's the performance? 42, 45, 47 FPS. That's probably good enough. Yeah, I don't know why opening photo mode just tanked the frame rate, but it did. It's so weird. Someone who knows Unreal Engine better than I do will have to explain that down in the comment section, if it's even explainable. Here's Wolverton. Only services, LNWR services heading to Birmingham New Street call here. No Pendos. Well, because it's so close to Milton Keynes, it wouldn't really make sense to. Okay, we're still under enhanced permitted speed, and yeah, we're clear up to 125. Hopefully dynamic weather kicks in, because on my first run trying to do this, the dynamic weather didn't change the weather at all throughout the whole run. I got as far I think on my first run I got as far as Stafford, and the weather was exactly the same, so hopefully the dynamic weather actually does what it's advertised to do, and actually changes the weather, but hey, we'll see. If it doesn't, it is what it is. Sorry, I do like doing the tones on this unit. 120 miles an hour, coming up on the abandoned station. The most interesting of the abandoned stations, I feel, is probably Polesworth, because it isn't abandoned. Well, platforms 2 through 4 are abandoned, but then for some reason platform 1 is still active, but from what I've checked it doesn't receive any services. But then again, I've only run, if I spawn in at midnight and I go check, there probably is like 1 service that it gets per day, but it's very interesting that there's only 1 service, at least only 1 service through there per day. The wipers before I have. Just hoping to get those points, you know. Oh yeah, we are zooming. Also, this route does have rail singing, and also thanks to today's update, but WCML Preston to Carlisle also has rail singing now, which is pretty neat. And Blackpool Branches has a brand new timetable where the West Coast Mainline Electrics and Mark II F, Mark II E, and Mark II D coaches also spawn in for the proper services, as well as the Mark II A coaches as well, which is pretty cool. Though I hope that Preston Carlisle gets updated at some point to accommodate the Preston to Crewe Class 86/4, because the 86/4 is a mixed traffic engine. It can do both freight and passenger. That makes it different to the that makes it different to the Class 86/2, which can only handle certain passenger services. So, yeah, hopefully Preston Carlisle does get an update at some point to accommodate the Class 86/4. Yeah, and also this new timetable on Blackpool means that the 47/3 and the new version of the Class 20 can also handle what is it? Passenger services? No. Freight services on Blackpool branches as well, which is pretty cool. Well, once Preston Crew comes out tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it. Like, Trent Valley is decent. All aboard absolutely cooked on this route. But I have the feeling Preston Crew is going to make it is just going to shoot up to the top of my favourites list and stay there for a good time to come. Well, unless Thames Valley branches and Tadami come out soon. They're coming into the cutting where the Northampton loop diverges. So yeah, we've got just under half an hour to Tamworth. I've already gotten the thumbnail for this trip from my previous run, so I won't have to go into photo mode. I think I might from now on try to take my thumbnails separately from the recording, because yeah, I think going into photo mode was causing some issues, and I don't know why. I do like those track joint sounds. Very nice. Yeah. If you don't have the Pendolino, then this route's rail seat is really, and the Class 805. This route's rail scene is pretty empty. But if you do have the Pendolino and the 805, this route is probably the best we'll ever get of the modern West Coast Main Line, unless someone makes a modern era West Coast Main Line North route, Carlisle to Glasgow Central and Edinburgh Waverley, which I would love to see someone do, genuinely. Because once Preston Crew comes out, we'll have the entire West Coast Main Line, bar a short section from Rugby to Birmingham New Street, all the way from Euston up to Carlisle. And that means we'd be only one short route away from having pretty much the entire main section of the West Coast Main Line in TSW. If we could get a West Coast Main Line North route at some point, I would, All Aboard won't be doing it because they've expressed an intention of stepping away from longer routes and West Coast Main Line content in general after releasing the Class 70, which I don't blame them. They've done 2 West Coast Mainline routes now, one West Coast Mainline locomotive, EMU add-on, and yeah, hopefully, and they've also expressed an intention for going towards shorter, easier to optimize routes, which honestly I don't blame them for, because optimizing Birmingham, this route must have been an absolute nightmare for consoles. Alright, there we go. 120 limit coming up. yeah, all of the tunnels on... Why can't I... Hang on, why can't I go to external view? There we go. Yeah. Yeah. I don't blame all aboard for wanting to do something different because, yeah. They've done 2 West Coast mainline routes now. And, well, Birmingham Crew, the 805 and Trent Valley all form like a pretty cohesive ecosystem with one another, and they all layer onto one another. I can see why all aboard are wanting to take a step back and do something different. Well, we'll just have to wait, well, once the Class 70 releases, of course, because that will layer onto Trent Valley and Birmingham Crew, and West Coast Mainline South if you have the Evero timetable, so... yeah, we will see where all aboard go from here, which I'm honestly wishing them the best of luck because, yeah, they can't have had too an easy a time trying to optimize this route, and the fact that it even works on consoles is pretty incredible. Though if you're on console, I would 1,000,000% wait for a patch to try and fix the crashing issues that Gen 9 consoles have been experiencing and the blurry textures. Back up to 125. Let's just do a flight path shot. Oh yeah. I just love being able to do the same services across different routes while route hopping. Hello, Evero. Class 805. Nice. I've yet to run the 805 on this route. I've run the 807, but I need to run the 805 at some point. Unfortunately, the latest patch for TSW didn't fix the cab texture issues in the 805, which is really annoying. Hopefully all aboard are planning to ship that soon, and ship a patch for that soon, maybe including fixes for Trent Valley. There were a couple of fixes for Trent Valley in the latest patch, which is quite nice, that they were able to get them out that quickly. It must have been stuff that they identified before this route was even released. 110 limit coming up. Having the ability to do long haul Pendolino runs now is so nice, because on West Coast Mainline South the Pendolino just feels like a caged animal, and on Birmingham to Crewe as well, because you can only really get the Pendo up to speed between Stafford and Crewe, and that's not too far. 10 limit, I'll keep an eye on that and try to brake as late as possible for that. Just have to remember not to put the change the reverser position, because the WASD keys are all pretty close to each other. Because, yeah, otherwise it'll do an emergency brake, as I found out to my cost in my first run I did. Slow down gradually for that 110. I do love how many miles you can cover so quickly in the Pendo. What's the frame rate? 35 FPS, okay. Oh, that's with another Pendo loaded in, that's the thing. Tunnel. I do like these. Oops. Trying to find. Okay. That's what they look like. I was just seeing what difference the dimming control made during low light conditions. Do like the overhead skylights in this tunnel, it's pretty cool. 30 miles to Tamworth. 36, 37 FPS. It's not good. Depending on how much stuff is loaded in. Pendo. Here comes the Northampton Loop, having just passed the Durft facility, joining in on the right hand side. Northampton Loop rejoining must mean we're close to Rugby now. Frame rate will drop as we go through Rugby. It's a pretty big station. A lot of services going through. Can't believe we could stay at 125 through the whole of Rugby. This feels way too fast, but I'm not surprised with the tilting that we can do this. Rugby. And I think I saw an EMT 158 off to the right there, if I'm not mistaken. Navarro, I think. There we go. Straight through. There goes the line off toward Birmingham New Street on the left-hand side. That is that will rejoin at Stafford. If we were in the Nevera, we'd have just gone around that corner at 100. We're doing a quarter faster than that. I believe this is for a... Oh, yes, I remember. There's a DRS class 66 hauling an intermodal train in front of us on the same track. I mean, he'll be looped at Nuneaton, I believe. Trying to maintain as much speed as possible. How much further to Nuneaton? Quite a bit. Oh dear. 5 miles maybe? FPS, not bad. Really annoying how we're stuck behind this DRS service, but hey, this line only has 3 tracks, so I'm not too surprised that we would get stuck behind something eventually. I might have overcooked it. Phew. Didn't overcook it. We're good. We have 11 minutes to do 17 miles. How are we going to do that if we have a stupid freight service stuck in front of us? How's the performance now? 42 FPS. Okay, we're getting better FPS than during my first run in the Pendo. Yeah, I think it was the photo, for some reason, photo mode just absolutely murdered my frame rate, and I don't know why. Someone with more experience than I do needs to let me know the reason for that. Pendolino. I'm sure you wouldn't do this in real life, but I'm trying to make up as much time as possible. Thank goodness for boost mode, otherwise we'd take a lot longer to accelerate. "15 miles at 9 minutes, that's not gonna happen. Is this service just bugged? And it means just we can't get there in time because of this freight service stuck in the way? Maybe. Let's see, has he been looped yet? Okay, he has just been looped. We are clear back up to velocity. Full steam ahead. Maximum beans. Right, maximum up, please. Boost mode still engaged? Yeah. Eco mode would show up green. This one's showing up red. It's for sport mode. This is the only train with a sport mode I've ever come across. Well, boost. It's called boost mode, but I call it, but it's basically sport mode. Right. Come on. I have 8 minutes to do 14 miles. Come on, Pendolino. I think I maintained a higher average speed chasing that intermodal surface during my first run, which is good. It's astounding how much distance this route, how much distance you cover quite quickly in the Pendolino. Coming up on Nuneaton, which is where the freight train in front of us got looped. Probably why I've been having a lower frame rate, not only Nuneaton, but that intermodal train has been loading in. Straight through Nuneaton at 120. See ya, DRS Class 66. Oh yeah, we are motoring. 12 miles in 6 minutes 20 seconds. Let's see if we can do that. What's the frame rate doing now? 4750 FPS. That's not bad. Okay, so we have a 100 limit coming up. That's fine by me. Under 10 miles to Tamworth. Lovely. I just wish I think the major missing feature with the Pendolino is Enhancements, because the only two bits of Avanti rolling stock which actually have announcements are the 805 and 807. I would love if the Pendolino had announcements, and I know there are mods that give you Pendolino announcements, but I don't use those. The only mods I really use are branding patches, just to add realistic branding back in to the game, which, yeah. 350/4, speaking of realistic branding, I would love to see a patch that gives the 350/4 realistic LMWR branding, but no one appears to have done one yet, despite the fact this route has been out for over a week. I'm not trying to sound ungrateful, I'm just saying I'm annoyed that it's taking this long. 100. And this is with enhanced permit, us being able to use the enhanced permitted speed. According to the timetable, this service takes an hour and 10 minutes to cover the route, despite which is the same amount of time that the Everroad takes to cover the whole route with no stops, and we're stopping twice and we're taking the same amount of time. Atherstone, I think Atherstone is one of my favourite stations on the route. Right, 115, 120. to 115. In real life, the tilting motion on the Pendolino made me feel slightly seasick sometimes, but yeah, it's a really cool feature. But yeah, let me know if you've ever ridden the tilting train. Please let me know if it makes you seasick down in the comments section, because it seems to affect some people more than tilting trains seem to affect some people more than others. One of my other relatives actually rode on one of Sweden's X2000 tilting trains, and yeah, it made him very seasick. So, while other people were unaffected. So, yeah, guess tilting in trains affects some people more than others. One thing about the Pendolino is that the whole train tilts. The Amtrak Acela Express actually also tilts, but it only tilts. The passenger carriages, the power cars at either end, don't tilt, which is very interesting. But here's a little trivia, TSW trivia. Take a guess in the comments below before proceeding with the video. But can you guess what train was the first tilting train in TSW? I'll let you have like 5 seconds to guess. You probably got it wrong, but the answer was the Deutsche Bahn BR612 diesel multiple unit from Toronto Rump, Dresden to Chemnitz. Which is pretty interesting. Here's Polesworth. So the platform on the far left is still active, but the other ones aren't. Very weird. 3 miles to Tamworth. So we have a 75 limit. Okay. Still getting a pretty decent frame rate despite how long we're into the run. Like 46-50 FPS. That's not bad at all. On my last run, I was getting 35 FPS in this area, despite the fact that I was under the exact same conditions. It was just because the photo mode decided to tank the frame rate after I'd used it, and I have no idea why. Okay, we have signals clear into Tamworth. Since we only have 1 minute, we have 1 minute to do 2 miles. How long do we have at Tamworth? 2 minutes. So I think if we get there late, we should be able to. Oh, I think because I was running late on my first service, I actually didn't overtake this chap until after Stafford. Right, on the brakes. Hard. Notch 4. Sorry, just had to sneeze there. Right, notch 5. Hard on the brakes. Hard on the brakes. I think I left the brakey a little bit too late. There's the crossing. Oh, just made it. And we overtook that crew service, which I got stuck behind on my first run, which you'll never see. But yeah, because of I accidentally emergency braked the train. I got stuck behind that crew service because of the dispatcher put him ahead because I got slowed down. All right. Tamworth, slightly late into Tamworth, but we'll be here, we'll pull out at exactly the same time, so that we would have otherwise, so that's good. This timetable is pretty tight, I gotta be honest. You really have to, we had no issues on our way up here, and we still arrived late into Tamworth. The only route I can think of as a tighter timetable is probably A, anything from Rivet Games, B, Liberec Starapaka. Four yards, decent enough. Alright, I think, yeah, we have a green signal next. Alright, we have 1 minute here at Tamworth, and then we're off to Lichfield, Trent Valley. And then let's do a exterior shot when we leave. There we go. See if there's any services that pass us by. Forgot to put the reverser to neutral. There we go. Today's new patch is a real game changer for TSW, I gotta say. Like, it's probably the biggest patch I've ever come across that's ever been released in my time in playing this game. I've been playing this game for 3 years and almost 3 months. Ooh, I like that noise from the brakes there. Right, full power, up to 110. Move the camera back a bit. There we go. Sounds. Next up, Lichfield Trent Valley in just under 6 miles. So yeah, as I said before, this service is weird. Like, running direct to Tamworth, a distance of 60 miles, and then we stop next to Lichfield Trent Valley, which is only 6 miles away, and then we're direct crew, which is like 40 miles, which is really weird. I don't get why that is. But yeah, we're running on the slow line all the way to Lichfield Trent Valley. But it's not exactly slow, we're still clear up to 125. And on top of that, yeah, we managed to get in a good position to overtake that used to the crew LNWR service, so it's not as if we're going to be stuck behind a train that can only do 110, which is good. Oh, hello, temporary speed restriction. Hopefully that means we can get to Lichfield Trent Valley on time. Okay. So we go. Yeah. There's the temporary speed restriction warning board. Try and accelerate up as much as possible before having to slow down for that temporary speed restriction. That's pretty cool. I do like the temporary speed restrictions, like, genuinely. I think they're pretty good. They're a pretty good idea. And at least on this route you don't have to slow down to 40 miles an hour like the normal UK temporary speed restrictions. You can slow down to 75. Pendolino. Temporary speed restriction in effect. I do like how, genuinely, that's one of the temporary speed restrictions are one of the best features introduced with TSW6 alongside announcements. They seem to be genuinely well thought out. It's just, I think my only complaint about them is that when a temporary speed restriction is in effect, you don't see any workmen or vehicles by the side of the tracks, as you would expect from a temporary speed restriction. Unfortunately. Right, I think we are going to be a bit late to Lichfield Trent Valley, unfortunately. Okay, we have 2 minutes at Lichfield. So, hopefully we can make up the time. Sorry, I do love the horn on this thing. there was the sign for the temporary speed restriction going the other way. Lichfield, Trent Valley, which is where you can also route hop to Birmingham Cross City, which is pretty cool. But Birmingham Cross City is genuinely a decent route with the Class 170 timetable. Like, having the full Cross City line, and then also the option to do West Midlands Turbostar, Cross Country Turbostar, Cross Country Voyager services is pretty cool. There's a West Midlands 323 waiting there. Unfortunately, we don't have a Class 730 in the game, which would make sense, which would make more time period accurate sense to be there instead of a 323, but hey ho, it is what it is. I would love to see a not a 323, we already have a 323, a West Midlands and LNWR Class 730 add-on, preferably by All Aboard Studios at some point. Alright, we're going to be almost a minute late, but who cares? There's actually a Class 153 ECS move, which goes from Lichfield Trent Valley up to Crewe, and you can actually use the Arriva. Oh, we're actually overshot the stop a bit. So basically the Class 153 ECS move comes out of this siding and then goes up to Crewe on the slow line, which is really interesting because, yeah, there's not really many places where you can take the Class 153 up to her top speed, certainly not on Cardiff. We'll definitely be departing Trent Valley, Lichfield Trent Valley on time, and then it's direct to Crewe, which is our final stop. After what a this trip, even in a Pendolino, this trip takes ages. I wonder how many people have the patience to do the full LNWR Crewe Euston service. Not many, I imagine. Alright. Next and final stop of today's trip, Crewe in 38 miles. How's the frame rate doing? 40 FPS, but that is with Lichfield Trent Valley and the 323 loaded in, so hopefully we'll get a better frame rate. So yeah, we do have 2 speed limit reductions, one here at this junction and one here coming onto the merging onto the line from Birmingham New Street. I just wish that Birmingham Crewe could get an extension down to Rugby, so we could do like the full Birmingham section of the West Coast Main Line from Rugby via Coventry and Birmingham International, via Birmingham New Street, Wolverhampton, Stafford up to Crewe. That would be pretty cool. But I imagine All Aboard won't be doing that, wouldn't do that, because they've said they're stepping away from West Coast Main Line content, so yeah. So we have 26 minutes to get to Crewe. We're up to 125 for now, but we have those 2 speed limit reductions, but then past Stafford we're up to 125 all the way to Crewe. Hopefully we can arrive on time, because we did arrive late at Lichfield Trent Valley, which is why, yeah, the timetables. This route's timetable does feel pretty tight. I wonder why. How's performance doing? We're getting 47-ish FPS. Oh, and we're getting overtaken by a Pendolino. I wasn't expecting that. I thought we were on the fast line. We aren't. We're on the slow line. That's pretty cool that we could get overtaken by Pendolinos. That's pretty cool. This is probably the only route where you can get you could be in a Pendolino and overtaken by Pendolinos. And the only trouble is he's probably going to cause adverse signals for us unless he gets very far away very quickly. Because whoops, wrong button. Because once we get here, the line goes down to 2 tracks. So hopefully he can get at least a couple of miles ahead of us by the time we get to that junction, which I don't know the name of. Evero, Class 805, nice. Speaking of the 805, I know it's a bit disappointing that we can only run the 805 realistically in electric mode. I would love to all aboard if you're happening to watch this video. I would love to see a North Wales coastline route, like say Crewe to Llandudno via Llandudno Junction, complete with modern transport for Wales, rolling stock, and a layer for the Class 805 to run in diesel mode. But yeah, that's probably never going to happen, to be fair. Yeah, that Pendolino's too close. We do have that 110 limit coming up. I do like temporary speed restrictions. They do add a little bit of variety to a otherwise somewhat monotonous journey. I love how us two Pendolinos are racing each other. So weird. I think in my first run that Pendolino overtook me at Tamworth. But yeah, now we're keeping pace with him pretty easily. Start slowing down for that 110 limit. If he doesn't have to slow down, that'll allow him to get a little bit ahead. I do really like this route, like genuinely. I think All Aboard did a bang-up job on this line. And like a long West Coast of the mainline route was what I've been modern era West Coast mainline route is what I've been wanting for a while. Originally Trent Valley. Yeah, we have that 90 limit coming up. Unless, of course, I just thought of something, unless, of course, that Pendolino is going to not change tracks, but actually go up this junction, in which case we'll be more than fine. I think he might, actually. Can we still see him? Oh yeah, there he goes. Oh, that's for the crossing. That's for if you're crossing tracks. So are there tracks which merge left? No! Yeah, and he's got green. He's going down that junction to who knows where. Yes! Okay, so he's not going to block us. That is excellent. Good job, dispatcher. Another Pendo. Wish we could see the I wish one thing that Dovetail could add are the 2 special Pendolino liveries, Progress and Opportunity. What is it? Progress and Opportunity, I think they're called. One is a Pride livery, one is a Climate Change livery. But yeah, unfortunately they don't seem to show any sign of wanting to do that, which is really annoying. Leaving the people on Creators Club to make up the shortfall. Right, there we go. So yeah, let's just check. Is he going up that junction? Oh yeah, he slowed right down. Oh, we're catching up with him. There he is. We'll be able to tell whether he goes up that junction or not. Ah, we're overtaking him again. Hello, slow coach. Okay, Yep, there he goes. He's going up wherever that junction, wherever that line goes off to. Which I have no idea. My knowledge of UK railways is still relatively shaky. I do know the main lines, but yeah. If someone could let me know in the comments where this line goes, I'd be much indebted to you. Alright, up to 100. Oh, here's the bridge with the carved lions. One of my favourite landmarks. This route doesn't honestly have too many notable landmarks, but hey, that's just because it doesn't really go near any major cities, really. Not really any habitable places it goes. Well, populated places, I should say. Tunnel. For some reason, there's a lot more track joints in this tunnel. 27 miles to go, so we've done 11 out of 38 miles. How's the frame rate doing? 46 FPS still. That's pretty nice. Alright, so you have a 90, then an 85, then a 75 coming up for the Stafford Junction onto the line from Birmingham New Street, if I remember. One thing I am hoping is that when the Preston Carlisle timetable gets updated to properly layer in the Class 86/4 and other Preston crew rolling stock, and also the new Blackpool branches timetable and the current crew Preston timetable, I hope that they already have layering set up for the Class 108 that's coming in with Cumbrian Coast, because that would make sense to do that right now while they're updating or in setting timetables. Alright, let's slow down for that 90. Yeah, and then after Stafford it's just a straight shot to Crewe. 75 warning board. Yeah, I know. And I believe after Stafford it's basically 125 all the way to Crewe. But yeah, the bit from Stafford to Crewe is recycled from Birmingham Crewe, which I'm not surprised about. There's still 80 plus miles of scenery on this line. I wouldn't expect them to build all of the scenery entirely from scratch. Slowing down for that 75. Yeah, those orange speed limit signs are for enhanced permitted speed, which is the speed limits that we're allowed to travel at, if I haven't already made that clear. So yeah, basically you have a short period of 75 and then we're back up to 110 and 125. Alright, coming up on Stafford. Nicely detailed abandoned lines there. Abandoned trackage. There's the line from Birmingham New Street joining in on the left-hand side. Ding! Yeah, unfortunately when I travelled on this line I only went on a Euston to Glasgow Central service as far as Preston, and those services don't stop anywhere south of Warrington Bank Quay. So, yeah. I haven't ever stopped at these stations in real life. I've just blasted past them, which is a bit of a shame, really. And the Glasgow Central services are only represented as AI on both West Coast Mainline South and Trent Valley, because it just doesn't stop anywhere on those routes aside from Euston, so it wouldn't really make sense. Wait a minute, are there no wires attached to that pole? Yeah, there are. There are no wires attached to that electricity pole. Up to 125. Full steam ahead. Are we still in boost mode? Yes, we are. Alright, 45 FPS this long into a TSW run is not bad at all. Yeah, this has been an insane run. Used to decrew even in a Pendolino takes ages. But having all this track available in TSW to drive on is incredible, really. The fact that we're able to even do these services in the first place without having to hop to TS Classic to do them. Incredible, really. Right. Straight up to 125. We do have an 115 limit. I imagine it's for this junction just up here. But then we're back up to 125, I would imagine. And I haven't used the speed set this entire run. Let's see. Hopefully we won't lose any points to speeding, because I want to do a perfect run. The run on West Coast Mainline South, you may remember, I got 0 points lost to speeding, and I want to try and equal that here. We are shifting. This is really... I do like Pendolinos. Like, they're genuinely good trains, and the fact that we can do this entire run now finally gives the Pendolinos a chance to stretch their legs after being confined to West Coast Mainline South and Birmingham crew for way too long. Alright, let's cut the power, start B1, notch 1 on the brakes, down to 115. So yeah, like this junction here and this junction here, where do those two go? I have no idea. $15. $46, 47 FPS. Wow, that's really decent this long into a TSW run. Like, this route is so well optimized. Just don't know why the photo mode was being really weird and killed my frame rate afterwards. Alright, back up to 125 in a minute. So yeah, this run is also, I believe this run would also be possible on Birmingham crew. Well, you would see it on Birmingham crew, just be AI only, because it doesn't stop at Stafford, only crew. Oh. Passing Hume's farm train spotting. Really distinctive. I've done a pretty decent run considering I've been using it without the speed set. 17 miles to go with 11.5 minutes to get there. Hang on, I just want to do a check. Am I still recording? Yes, I am. That's good. Just make sure I can... Yeah, there we go. Go down to notch 1. 50 FPS. Dang. Like, this is probably one of my favorite services to do in TSW now. Like, it's long, don't get me wrong, but it's still a lot of fun. And the only route that can really equal this for a high-speed run is probably Castle-Würzburg, because that's like 100 miles of German high-speed running with a stop in the middle at Fulda. And if you're in the Expert 101, that takes like an hour and a half to do a full run of. Basically sitting at 200 kilometers an hour for most of the running, unless you're coming into Fulda. If you're learning German safety systems, then Castle-Würzburg is by far the best route to practice LZB runs on. hard to believe I've been pretty proficient at PZB and LZB for well over a year at this point. Well, and decently good at Inducey, which is the older version of PZB. Wouldn't mind living on that house on the right. The noise level would be insane unless you had good sound padding. Like, you'd have trains blasting past at 125 every 5 minutes for most of the day. Oof. 13 miles to go. Yeah, 50 FPS. That's pretty incredible. Yeah, but this time I was stuck at 35 FPS. Well, actually no, I only got as far as Stafford, but by the end of my first attempt at this, at recording this second leg of the trip, I was just getting 35 FPS, and I couldn't go above it for some reason. Like, photo mode had soft-locked it for some reason. 9 minutes to do 12 miles, we can do that. This train is more than capable of doing that. Just wish that the 390 was also compatible with train faults, because having like a pantograph blockage or something would relieve the monotony a bit, you know. Yeah, we are. This thing shifts. Like, 390 just eats the miles. Hard to believe this is 160 miles, and it's taken us almost 2 hours at this point. That's incredible. Trust me, I will do a Euston to Carlisle run at some point. Just give me time and I will do that. Like, that's not even a question. I will do that at some point. Even if it causes me to go insane, I will do it. 10 miles to go with 8 minutes to get there. I think we'll make it. Pendo. I wonder how many Pendolinos we've seen so far today. It has to be a lot. Yeah, the bit between Stafford and Crewe is really the only bit where you can get up to any decent sort of speed on Birmingham to Crewe. But on this route, yeah, it's just another 125 mile an hour section. I think the Trent Valley would honestly not be difficult to learn HUDless. You just have to practice and learn where all the speed limit reductions are, and also like the differences between the speed limit changes and also what enhanced permitted speed permits you to do. Seven and a half miles to go with 7 minutes to get there. Doing well. We're doing over 2 miles a minute, so we'll get there very quickly. We'll just have to keep an eye out for any adverse signals. It is astounding how Britain allows trains to go up to 125 miles an hour without the use of in-cab signalling. The only route in Britain which I'm aware of, the only railway in Britain which I'm aware of, which uses in-cab signalling is High Speed 1 between St Pancras and the Channel Tunnel. Though I do believe some routes use ETCS, or the European Train Control System, which I'm not entirely sure how that works. So, yeah, that might, I don't think it constitutes in-cab signalling now. 50 FPS still, 110 limit coming up. The final stretch. Oof. Five miles left out of 160. What a trip this has been. Imagine doing this in a 350. I will do it in a 350 at some point, do like Crewe to Euston in a 350. But yeah, probably not for a while. For one thing, I want to sink my teeth into Crewe Preston, for one thing. This is what Trent Valley really gives the vibes of what Peterborough to Doncaster should have been. Reasonable terminus points, long bit in between, lots of speed limit changes, scenery changes, that kind of thing. But yeah, if I had to choose between Trent Valley and Peterborough to Doncaster, I would take this every day of the week because it's longer, B, it has more interesting rolling stock, B, like, it has more interesting terminating points. Right, 110 limit has been reached, which means we were done with 125 mile an hour running for the day. Sadly. Oh, we've got clear signals into Crewe. Okay, I'll start slowing down for that 60 limit in a minute. Don't want to get a TPWS overspeed, so slowing down. Crew signal box, one of the crew signal boxes, I should say. There's Crew, I believe that's Crew Basford Hall off to the left. There's a 66. Can't wait until we have the, oh, that's a single yellow. Okay, brake. That's a red signal coming up. On the brakes, hard. That's an approach control signal. I thought we had clear signals all the way in. We don't. Alright. Easy does it. Don't want to overdo it. We'll do. Oh, hello. There's the Rail Operations Group, Class 37, which always seems to be sitting there. One mile to Crewe with 3 minutes to get there. Wait for signal to change. We might have something in our platform, to be fair. Let's have a look. No, we don't. There's a Euston Chester service which is poking a long way out, but no, I don't think. Right, on the brakes. Oh, and as soon as we get there it changes. Okay, not sure, full speed. I have 2 minutes to do 0.8 miles. We could do that. Oh man. Like, if you put WCML South together with Trent Valley and pretend to think of it as like a single route, the only two routes which I could think of which really match it in terms of length and amount of time it takes to get through them probably would be, both in Trainsim Classic ironically, the Midland line in New Zealand by NZTS Workshops. That takes like 3 hours to do a full route, to do a full run of if you're in the DJ class locomotive. And then also the Taurus Mountains route by And Games in TS Classic. That takes like 2.5 hours to do a full run of from Yenish to Ulukishla. Nice, made that 20 limit just in time. And then this service will continue on beyond Crewe to Liverpool Lime Street. Oh, no, that's a... Why are you sticking out so far? Is that a double 807? It might be. Let's take a look. Is that a double 807? No. It's a triple 805. What? I didn't know those could connect together in triple. That's insane. Just leaving now for Chester. That's incredible. I didn't know they could do that. No wonder it's sticking out so far. Slow down to below 15 miles an hour. I think we'll arrive just a few seconds late, but hey, that's just the tight timetable being the tight timetable that it is. Welcome to Crew. How's the frame rate? 30 FPS at a terminating station. TSW is not bad, with considering the number of services. Alright. Alright. Here we are at Crew. I think we have to go all the way to the end of the platform, or nearly to the end of the platform. Oh, it goes a Northern 323. There's the 6 to 11 stop marker. That's no 5 to 11 stop car marker. That's us. There we go. 25 seconds. That's good enough, in my opinion. DRA on, because we are standing at one signal. And welcome to Crew, everybody. Wow.
11:47 Avanti West Coast service to Liverpool Lime Street.
That's us being called out on the announcement.
Liverpool Lime Street only.
Oh yeah, direct to Liverpool from here. Lock the doors. Doors closing. There we go. Yes, the entire 160-mile run done with 0 points lost to speeding. So yeah, that'll be all. Ooh, 0.6 yard stop at Crew. That's not bad at all. So yeah, that'll be all for this video, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Please do join the Discord server and become a channel member if you could afford it. And if you want to see any more insanely long runs like this, please let me know down in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.